Welcome to
From the
Fan Movie
spotlight.
Fights this week. I'm your host, Matt Beer, and today we are doing classics. That's right, we're doing classic films. This is before 1980, not after 1980, just so you all are wondering. So let's talk to our competitors. First, we got the man who started this, Christopher Day. How are you doing?
Ho, 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 mother effers. Happy Merry Christmas. It'll be Christmas by the time this video is up, so Merry Christmas. I'm fighting today. What? Yeah, I'm fighting today. Classic movies are my thing, and I'm very excited for this. It might be a little tougher, but let's do it.
Nice, nice. And his opponent is Jen Kemp. It's her first time on here. So how you doing, Jen?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for letting me in here. I love my classic movies, and if it's airing now in December, I've probably seen Rogue One 3 times by now. So thanks a lot.
I've probably seen it 5.
Amen.
I don't know how many times I've seen it by then. But we also got
I've
our...
seen it once.
No, I'll say more than once. And also, we got our fact checker and also our engineer for the show, Mr. Chris Dohmen.
Thank you.
Is that right?
Yeah, that is correct.
Yes. I was scared I was going to mispronounce it. Especially in the Fan Schmoeville group. So
it's all good.
Yes, let's go into the rules. Now, the rules are as simple as this. I'm going to read a question. We're going to have Chris or Jen go first, whatever one we switch to. They'll go first. They'll explain what their answer is and why it is. Their opponent will also do the same, and then we'll have a 20-second rebuttal by each, and then a 10-second rebuttal by the next. Now, of course, this is not about what I think is the best movie. It's about what's the best arguments. So let's start out with Jen on this one. So our first question is, what's the greatest film of all time, pre-1980?
Okay, how much time do I have? Just for my own head?
As much time as you need for your opening argument.
Yeah. For the opening. Okay,
yeah.
Great. Okay, so the greatest film of all time happens to come from the greatest genre, the greatest decade of film of all time, and also happens to be my favorite film. That would be 1975 Steven Spielberg directed classic Jaws. This is basically, it's the greatest film of all time because it takes elements from all different genres. It transcends all genres. It's a thriller, it's a horror, drama, comedy, family, war, a road trip movie. So there's something in here for everyone. And yes, it's an R, but if you watch it on TBS, it's totally PG. So basically, this is the greatest film of all time. It launched Steven Spielberg's career. It's quintessential director in all of modern cinema. Keep going today with hopefully something new next year or 2 years from now with Ready Player One. It was the first blockbuster changing the landscape of the cinematic seasons with the new summer blockbuster season, which is obviously still going strong with certain varying degrees, considering this year. And Spielberg excels in emphasizing building dramatic tension throughout with his less is more tactics, something that sorely goes missing in a lot of blockbusters today. And he also focuses on the character development between the three trio of Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, and Richard Dreyfuss. And it's basically also just, other than the fact that it's a almost perfect movie, just the fact that it's kismet that it succeeded so well because the shark couldn't work. So it was just a moment of movie magic, having to work around a problem and coming out in the end with something that is a thoroughly enjoyable story with fascinating characters and is just a benchmark in cinematic history.
All right. Now, Chris, what is yours?
Alrighty, well, I like your argument, by the way. That's a really good one. But here's what I'm going to go with. And this is a very good idea because it really, because we'll talk about that in a second. But the movie I'm going to pick is what you said is kind of on the similar level. And that is what you said was it started kind of everything, blockbusters, things like that. Well, this movie kind of started the assemblable cast. And I'm going to go with the greatest film of all time. One of them, probably The Godfather, the original 1972 classic. Now, you can say many things about this movie, but when you think about this film, the one thing you think about is an ensemble piece, and this is an ensemble piece. You had the nominations for like for 3 Academy Award nominations for acting, especially coming from an actor myself. You have easily my favorite actor in Hollywood and probably the greatest actor of all time as the main guy who won the Oscar. You have Al Pacino, James Caan, you have Robert Duvall, you have so many to think of. And this movie also started something unique. It started people introducing us to a brilliant mind by the name of Francis Ford Coppola in the decade of the 70s. We'll get to the other time some other time, but a lot of people don't realize that he brought the 70s back then with a phenomenal script, by the way, by Mario Puzo. And it's such a fantastic movie with such iconic things. You can easily talk about scenes that can talk about. Like with Jaws, you have iconic sequences that people don't remember. Like a horse in the bed or the causeway scene on the freeway. And there's so many to think about. So when you say what is the greatest film ever made, and I'm saying this, I think a movie like The Godfather, which is today on IMDb's top 250, it is the number 2 greatest film of all time. I think that is where you're saying is a movie that's going to last the time. And that's what I'm saying is The Godfather is the greatest film ever made. Pre-19.
All right. Good arguments from both of you. Now, Jen, your 20-second rebuttal starts now.
Okay, well, The Godfather, it is a classic movie. It is a great movie. However, I would argue that The Godfather Part 2 is actually a superior film. It further emphasized the characters and their directions of where they went, going backwards with Robert De Niro's take on Marlon Brando's classic character, and then Al Pacino getting further development. Okay.
All right. Chris, you're up.
Yes, it has a sequel. But here's the thing. Jaws did something unique where it brought something different. But with The Godfather, it brought such a unique style and such interesting characters. You have interesting characters in Jaws, yes, but you don't have the depth of them and something unique that was in The Godfather.
Time.
All right.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Okay. Now your 10-second rebuttal, Jen.
10-second rebuttal. Unique deaths being eaten by a giant shark is pretty unique. Mob hits are very common in theories. And also, they're both based off books. The Jaws movie actually bettered the novel, whereas The Godfather original Mario Puzo's just as good.
Here's the thing. Books are an exclamation. Yes, the Godfather book is a classic, but you talk about people getting eaten. There's a freaking dude who gets shot on a causeway. That's different from that. And this is a movie that people will remember 20 years from now.
Time.
Okay.
Not bad.
So, not bad at all. You guys had some really good arguments. You definitely made it tough, as Andy Signor would say. But, honestly,
as I did say the other day,
I really thought Jen had a better first round or opening argument, but I think Chris, no, this is tough. No, I think I'm going to give the point to Jen. I like how, especially her opening argument. Hey, I didn't complain about your things, Chris.
Hey, no, she did very well.
Yeah, but I liked how she brought in the book as far as how the movie Jaws elevated the novel, and then she also brought in how Jaws uses multiple genres in that. So that's why I'm going to give her the point.
And actually, a little bit of fact checking.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I forgot about that. Fact check.
Yeah. Actually, Day, on the AFI Top 100, The Godfather is sitting at number 3, and Jaws is sitting at number 48. So you were actually a little off there, my friend. It's all good.
Isn't it the IMDb 250? Is it? Are they?
IMDb is
number
crazy.
2? Yeah, they are crazy. But, yeah.
But for the sake of facts, I will take
Matt, like they said in Casablanca, this is the start of a beautiful friendship.
Okay, so let's enter our second question. We're going to let Chris answer it first. What is the greatest performance before 1980? What's the best performance?
Well, I had one, but
we're gonna fight
gave it up for free. But I'm gonna go
not
Peter
for free,
O'Toole.
not for free.
No, not for free. You gave me another one, but actually, the one you're picking is we'll save it for later. Anyway, the one I'm picking is because we'll talk about it in a second, but this is one of the performances that people will talk about. What are like the top 5 performances of all time? People talk about, say, Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You talk about Robert De Niro in Raging Bull pre-1980. So I'm going to go with a big shocker for a lot of people, and this is a performance that I think the Oscars should have given. Peter O'Toole in Lawrence of Arabia, one of my favorite films of all time, in the top 3 of all time. And I don't think Matt has seen this movie, but Matt hasn't seen a lot of classics. So, and I'm just saying from a personal reality, no biography performance has ever been given better than Peter O'Toole in Lawrence of Arabia. This man carried his movie on his shoulder, not only because it has a brilliant direction from David Lean, but this man went into the soul of as easily as one of the greatest actors of all time. And as an actor myself, this is such an iconic performance from Peter O'Toole. The depth of this character, the drivenness of how mad people think he is, and how you understand how the war really affects him, even from this 4-hour movie that starts at the beginning as an obnoxious asshole. And in the end, you realize he has a good heart. He just realizes that more people understood that, yes, he can be a little obnoxious and he can be overwhelming at times, but he never escaped who he truly was and being a real, true warrior. So I'm going Peter O'Toole.
All right. Jen, now you're up.
Okay, so my performance, which we thought about earlier with Chris saying we both fell on the same person, and that's why it's probably the better choice. It would be Marlon Brando in On the Waterfront as Terry Malloy. So basically, Marlon Brando is across the board considered one of the greatest actors of all time, particularly for pretty much launching the method acting movement that you've seen now influenced in Daniel Day-Lewis's career, Robert De Niro, Dustin Hoffman, and even most recently with Jared Leto, even though he takes it a little bit too far in certain areas. So basically, for On the Waterfront, particularly, I chose this one because it was the first time where Brando was the lead character in the film while also becoming a fully fledged individual. This movie is specifically about Terry's journey from basically a boy man-child into a full-grown man that is taking the cause of all the people around him. So he's becoming an actual person instead of just this shade of what he used to be as a boxer. And this film, it swept the Oscars for 1954 with 8 wins, including Best Performance Lead Actor. And let's see. His particular performance in this one, for me, is a very personal one. It's very interesting to see him because he can flip from being this volatile, powerful boxing character into, with his "I could have been a contender" speech, and then flip to a tender, susceptible character. There's a classic scene where he is acting with co-star Eva Marie Saint, and she drops a glove, and he picks it up and puts it on his hand as a way of kind of trying to get into her character without actually touching her, and that's something that he completely improvised on the spot. So it's his attention to details and able to fully commit to the moment, which I consider making this his best performance. And for just a little asterisk here to disregard the current news climate with his criticisms after what the news that came out for I can't think of it, Last Tango in Paris. This is one of those situations where you have to think about considering the work over the individual. This movie was made obviously much earlier than Last Tango in Paris, and I think there's dividing the actor's work from the actor's personal life, and while that was involved with the movie, it's been a little hazy, so just kind of throwing that to the side.
Yeah, it's not been easy.
Okay, so that's moving on.
All right, so Chris, let's hear your 20-second rebuttal.
All right, I'm ready. Go. Alrighty, so this is my favorite performance of all time. This is the performance that made me want to become an actor. So it's very hard to go up against this. But here's the thing. Lawrence of Arabia really brought this character so depth. He brought this more into himself because you've got a 4-hour movie and this character had time. But for Terry Malone, I think you only had a little bit. You didn't know much about the character. You got to know a little more about Lawrence of Arabia.
Time.
And his movie, Streetcar Named Desire.
Okay. Jen?
Okay, I wanted to make the point for Peter O'Toole. He was embodying in Lawrence of Arabia, he's embodying a real person, so he can actually look and pull from the information on that actual person, while Brando had to create a character that was completely his own, which makes it a little bit more of a project. So he had more subtleties to his character, and I could hear you going for Streetcar, and that he wasn't the lead in that. He was just a standout performance.
All right, and Chris, now your 10 second.
I'm ready. Yes, you can say it's a great performance. This guy had to bring somebody who he didn't even meet in person. He had to bring himself. And that's what I'm saying is this is a performance that matters because he brought a real depth character. That was real.
Time.
Yep. And Jen, what's yours?
Well, the problem with Lawrence of Arabia is so many people have not seen it because it's so long. It is a great movie. However, the sweeping cinematography is the thing that for me stands out more than his actual performance.
Time.
It's the overall direction of the movie.
All right. So,
yeah, I'm pretty much screwed.
Any fact checks?
I'm pretty much screwed, aren't I?
Nope. Surprisingly good this round.
All right.
Yay.
So hard to go up against a movie I love. Both.
I think I'm going to give it.
Performance. It's the one that made me become an actor.
I think I'm going to give it to Jen because she brought on the topic that Marlon Brando had to make it. It was another project compared to Peter O'Toole.
Yeah.
I think that's.
Unfortunately, yeah.
He's not even trying to take the point. Go ahead.
Take the point. It was a little tough because I was so argumentative. I was so ready to talk about this, and then like 12 hours ago, I gotta choose somebody else. Oh, that's all right.
Yeah,
good job.
I think that's the main reason why I'm going to give it to Jen, though. So, all right,
that's fine.
She's up 2-0. So, Chris, let's see if you can turn around. Yep. And speaking of. Finish.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. So I had a question for you. Even though it's a 2-0, do you still want to try to go since it says 2-6? And if I could catch up.
Say that one more time.
I said even though we only have 2, do you still want to kind of do the speed round for me to catch up to if I can? I probably won't.
I would say if she gets
giving up already.
If she gets 2 more points, knockout.
Yeah.
No, just stick to judging. So if I at least get a point, we're good.
Yeah. And
no, you have to get at least 2.
That's good. That counts.
So wait, does he have to win the next 2 to win?
Well, he'd have to win. Well, 2 of the next 3.
2 of this. Okay, whatever. I'll just beat him. Just go ahead. I'll just beat him now.
Whoa, ladies and gentlemen, we got it. She's kicking my ass.
And she's coming for Beardo next.
Waiting on that one. Yeah.
RB3, look out, brother.
I don't think she has a Christmas spirit towards you in a positive way. And speaking of Christmas, because Christmas is around the corner, what's the best Christmas movie made before 1980? And we'll start with Jen, because she went second last.
Okay. So this is the moment where we return to people regretting that they had to give up a choice. So this is the deal that we made was I would get Brando if Chris got the next point that he will come up in a minute. So this is my backup. So I chose Chuck Jones's 1966 How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And right at the top, I will point out that, yes, this is a short film, but the question was the best Christmas film. Short film is still a film. It's only 27 minutes long. However, it is quality over quantity. So Dr. Seuss is one of our modern philosophers for the 20th century. And in this very short film, he analyzes the commercialization of Christmas, which is still a very common thread today. And it's one of my favorites because it's simple and easy to digest for children while also being poignant for adults, because there's that element of nostalgia of thinking how you used to think about Christmas as a child as opposed to how you are today. And you have this self-realization, especially as internet personalities here. We all have a little bit of a Grinch inside of us, and at Christmas you have to kind of let it go a little bit and give in to the little Cindy Lou Who side too. So Christmas is a time for sharing memories and spending time together as a family. And this is something that you can gather around even during a Christmas party because it's so short and everyone just sit down and enjoy together. Yeah, and I just another little poignant thing on the side here. We thought we were fighting with Josh Krebner, and knowing Josh, I knew he would pick Die Hard, which was also an option for me. So I skipped that for something that I think the whole family can enjoy for Christmas time.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker!
What do you mean kids can't watch a scene with cocaine?
I know.
Yeah, no, there's movies in it. They're fine.
So many values on display in Die Hard.
There's a reason why I'm only 21 and I'm not a dad, so there's a reason.
All right. Good job, Jen. All right. Now, Chris, what is your choice? I wonder what it could be.
Alrighty. Well, hats off first off to Jen because she gave me this, and I gave her On the Waterfront. So I'm picking a movie that not only is probably the greatest Christmas movie I think anybody can say. Once a year, I go see this movie in the theater. And there's so many to choose from, but it's obvious. This is the movie that we'll talk about in a second, but It's a Wonderful Life. This is a masterpiece. You can say whatever you want, but this is a movie that just impacted me so well. It hit me on when I was at a very low time. I was 16 years old. I really didn't know what I wanted to be. And I was kind of where this movie is also my second favorite film of all time. It just hit me. It was such an emotional film. It was such at a time where I needed it most. This is the movie about a guy played by the greatest performance by one of the greatest actors you can never say, James Stewart. This is his best performance. And the fact that people didn't like this at first shocks me. This is a movie about accepting the things you have, accepting everything about Christmas. You have the life, you have the things, but you have to love the things you have. You can't have everything. You can't have, yes, you may have a bad job. Yes, you may have relationships you don't really understand. And yes, life is hard for you, but it's not time to give up. And I think what they're going to do, and they're also trying this so hard with their next movie that's coming out in a couple weeks with Will Smith, that it's about life and death and if he had a second chance, what would that be? And not everybody's given a second chance, but the character of George Bailey is given it so well that this is a movie I think people will remember, especially when he goes by a theater house and says, "Hello, movie house," or something like that. This is a movie that people will remember and will say, "Merry Christmas." And this is a movie you should watch every single Christmas year. I watch it twice a year.
All right. Nice argument. Now, Jen, let's hear your 20-second rebuttal.
Okay, my problem with It's a Wonderful Life as the best Christmas film is this is a film that, while being great, just happens to culminate at Christmas time. Of the 3-hour runtime, there's probably only 20 minutes that are spent on Christmas, and it's focused on George Bailey. It doesn't even focus on his family really too much, which is kind of a big element of Christmas time. And you said that George Bailey gets a second chance. So does the Grinch, and he actually saves Christmas.
All right, Chris?
Here's the thing about The Grinch. It's 30 minutes long. And It's a Wonderful Life. Yes, it has times at points, but here's the thing. You could pick any other Christmas movie you would say, and I would go The Grinch. The Grinch is good. It's good. This is a movie that tells about life and death and about Christmas and about accepting the things you have. Yes, The Grinch is a little bastard, but it's so short that the story is all over the place at times.
Time.
All right, Jen?
The story is not all over the place. It's a Wonderful Life. That's all over the place as it jumps around different segments of this whole man's life and then just happens to end up on Christmas time. The Grinch is a very quick plot.
So here's the thing. Right. What is the one thing the Grinch is memorized for? It's memorized for a song. Well, Once a Wonderful Life is made for so many things and beyond, and that is why it's a better movie.
Time.
All right. It was very close, I thought, through the first two, but I do think Chris kind of edged you out. Maybe I'll give it to Jen because he killed my ear.
No, don't.
I was liking what Jen said about how Grinch is more Christmas. It has that Christmas feel where It's a Wonderful Life could be set like at any time of the year. But when you said that has many memorable lines and the Grinch is only remembered for the song, I think that's what got me to be on your side, Chris. So you got a point, Chris.
You're still the best in my book.
I'm not mad about that at all. So,
Mr. Day.
It's the Grinch. And I can have eggnog with my beer.
That's not healthy at all. Okay. So now it is 2-1. So it's 2-1. Jen is leading. But here's a question I got for you guys. What movie changed cinema the most? Okay, Chris, we'll let you go first since you went second.
Alrighty, well, this, like Andy Signor said, and I said like 20 times in the last video, this is tough because you say, what is the movie that changed cinema? Obviously, there's so many. I would have picked The Wizard of Oz. I would have picked Casablanca. I would have picked Citizen Kane. I would have picked The Godfather. I would have picked Psycho. But I'm going Jaws. I'm going Star Wars. The original Star Wars changed cinema forever. You say you have a film that changed cinema forever, where people started, like, yes, people stood in lines for Jaws. I wasn't born then. I was like 20 years not even existing. But that being said, a movie that really changed cinema is Star Wars. People waited outside. And when you go into that theater, what my mother has told me so many times, she was 10 years old. She went in that theater, and you see that spaceship flying overhead. That changed cinema forever. People went and saw that movie for like 4 years in the theaters, patiently waiting for another movie. And that is saying so much because Star Wars changed cinema forever. It introduced you to fantastic characters. It introduced us also to Chris Dohmen. I mean, he's the biggest Star Wars fan I know. And it introduced us to him. It introduced us to Matt. It introduced us to Star Wars. This is a movie that people talk about all the freaking time because Star Wars changed cinema forever. It is a movie that you will remember, and your kids will see, and your grandparents will say, I was at that theater seeing Star Wars. And there even is still Star Wars today. So Star Wars changed movie cinema. Back to you, Matt.
All right. Now, that was nice. Now, Jen, let's hear yours.
Okay. If people are familiar with me at all, they know that I'm a Disney fanatic. So it's only natural that a Disney movie would show up eventually on one of my lists here. So the movie that changed cinema the most, I would believe, is the original first full-length Disney film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, way back in 1937. So this was it was a big risk for Disney to launch into this project because up until then, cartoons were basically considered as like a little in-between segment for long days at the cinema that you play in between while people are either going to the bathroom, getting a snack, or keeping the kids entertained while everyone's running around, while the guys are changing the film reels for the next actual film. So to create something that is completely animated, it was changed the landscape, considering animation as a true serious art form in terms of cinema. And it basically launched family-friendly movies where it targeted specifically children as well as their parents in the meantime, as an audience that has kept theaters afloat as the years have progressed here, as we see countless animated films come out to varying degrees of success, considering Pixar, and then you look at Minions and everything. So, but it's something that keeps studios viable by pulling in all those kid dollars, and it launched Walt Disney as an enterprise, and nowadays it is basically the ultimate empire of cinema. And I will make the point that while Chris chose Star Wars, there would not be a current Star Wars cinematic universe without the help of Disney, and there would be no Disney without Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, including also there wouldn't be no Pixar and there would be no Marvel. So you needed to build off the background of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs as a success to create all of the amazing content that's coming out from this particular studio nowadays.
All right. Nice. All right. Chris,
Really
it's your 20-second
So
rebuttal.
here's the thing. Number one, she's wearing a Star Wars shirt. Number two, let's get into this serious thing. Here's the thing. yes, this is a commercially success. This is the movie that launches everything. But when you think about Star Wars was the highest grossing movie for like till 1997. Everything about this movie, till 1982 actually, E.T. But you look at this. This movie changed cinema. Yes, it did. But like movies like Dumbo and Pinocchio really rise, and then Disney fell. I think without Star Wars, I think that's where Hollywood really expressed itself.
All right, Jen, let's hear yours.
Okay, while Star Wars was important, it wasn't by far the most important sci-fi event. There had been 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, War of the Worlds, even going back to the 20s with Metropolis. There was already these amazing sci-fi technical advances. And then also Lucas had borrowed from so many other genres before, going off Flash Gordon serials and even Kurosawa's samurai films.
Yes, he did. But here's the thing. People go to the movies like today. In the 30s, people already cared more about The Wizard of Oz than they did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Star Wars had a better audience and really expressed more than Snow White did. Changed more.
Right.
And, the audience for Star Wars, it has built over time. When it first came out, it was kind of a flash in the pan, and then it took a long time for it really to hold on to the cultural zeitgeist, whereas the Disney princess films have just been continuously building since their inception.
All right. Now, before I say who I think won, Chris, do we have any fact-checking we need to do? We're clear up.
So far, we're actually doing pretty decent. One little bit there is that actually E.T. did not actually beat total gross for Star Wars.
Is it Jurassic Park?
Jurassic Park, probably.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I thought.
It's all good.
All right. So I did like your arguments, Chris. I really did. And I love Star Wars, and that's what I would have chosen as well. However, I think she might have got you with how Snow White. Maybe without Snow White, we wouldn't have Star Wars.
The Disney princess thing kind of screwed me over.
Snow White saved Star Wars, people.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you can say that Disney. Yes, it didn't. Yes, Star Wars made more money, but actually, if you look at it, kids still today dress up as Snow White for Halloween. That's saying something.
And also, I think she got you with mentioning some of the other big sci-fi movies that came out that were pretty influential, like 20,000 Leagues and stuff. So that's why I'm going to give her the point, even though Star Wars is life. So,
I'm sorry, everyone.
Oh, no.
She's playing the fucking Star Wars here.
Here's the thing. You know what? From an argument standpoint, sorry, Chris, but you can't argue against Snow White. That film...
Yeah.
Oh.
That is true. I'm going to be honest. This is a tough match today, but she kicked my ass in this topic more than she did Marlon Brando because she said so many things on point. She said so many things. And yes, people look at like today with Wizard of Oz, but Snow White is still that movie. I have a 1-year-old niece who is not even in the movies yet, and that is a movie that I would probably just turn on so she doesn't have to stop running and hitting me all the time because she would watch this stuff. This is for little girls. And today, little girls need these movies more than ever. And this is reason why.
Fair enough.
All right. So now it's 3-1 with Jen on.
Always have girls have Disney. There you go.
So we'll see if Chris can make a glorious comeback and get to the speed round so we don't have a knockout. So
how many points do I have to make the speed round?
You have to have this one. Oh, 2? Yeah, because you have 1, so you need 1 more.
Okay. All right.
Okay. There we go. All right, so... Okay. So, here's my question to you. What's the most inspirational film of all time? Now we're going to let Jen go first, and because I believe she went second last. So.
Yeah, I think so.
She did.
All right. Glad I'm not crazy. Okay. So, Jen, take it away.
Okay, so this is my deep cut, which I'm not sure if you guys have seen this movie because whenever I bring this movie up, a lot of people just give me blank stares. So the most inspirational movie of all time for me would be 1979's Breaking Away. Just before I even go into this, does people know this movie, or because I should give a little synopsis if people don't?
Yeah, I really don't know crap about
My God, yes.
Yes. Okay. I got one. All right. Well, I'll just give some little details. So, it follows the story of these four young men right after they graduated high school. They're living in Bloomington, Indiana. Basically, the whole film is analysis of class warfare between the people that live in this town as these blue-collar workers that work at the quarry factory and cutting stone and everything, and the kids that come to the Bloomington, Indiana University to better their lives before they move on to these greater futures ahead of them. So it's looking at these four kids that they all kind of have their own little storylines going on. The lead storyline with Dennis Christopher is he wants to become this grand cyclist. So it's a cycling movie. So yeah, at first it sounds really strange, but it actually is a really inspirational topic. Making bicycling an interesting thing is no easy feat. So it follows these four as it's a coming of age film, and it's.
I was assuming it was.
Yeah, it's basically it's a coming of age film, but it's also a sports movie, so you kind of have a little bit of the inspirational from both sides there. And it's a movie about seeing one's own potential and following through on it. Dennis Quaid's character in particular, he is very against the students at the university. He's always trying to prove himself, but he never quite has the chance to do it because he's always self-aware of him coming from this blue-collar family and not having a future ahead of him. So it's people facing very realistic problems with their situation in life. It's a very inspirational film because it's something that everyone struggles with, trying to realize who they should admire and who they should become, and looking in oneself and finding acceptance from others by finding acceptance from their own selves. Have at it.
Sounds interesting, actually.
It's a great film.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So here's the thing. You talk about movies that inspire people, there's so many to say. You could say Star Wars, you could say The Searchers, you could say so many. I'm going to go with one of probably the inspirational movie of all time. You can't have this movie and not say, what is the most inspirational film of all time before 1980? And that's Rocky. Rocky is the winner of like 4 Oscars. And this is the movie that started everything. It introduced us to a great actor, Sylvester Stallone. But here's the most important thing about inspirational. Breaking Away, I've never heard of. But this was a movie where it introduced people to the underdog. And all these movies have happy endings. And all these films have to have a happy ending. This movie didn't. This movie introduced you to the underdog. The guy, spoiler alert, the guy doesn't win. The guy does not win the fight. He loses. But he loses with dignity. He loses with respect. And the thing you need to say about this is a movie that changed everything. This movie was so underlooked. And people said, can you make a film, like, tell me at the top of your head before Rocky, that you can't make a movie about this, that you can't make a movie that introduces your characters and introduces a story about a boxing sport that really had no movies at all. Boxing was, like, only meant for Muhammad Ali. I mean, Stallone even made a character based on Muhammad Ali. He brought boxing to its own. And 40 years later today, people are still talking about Rocky. People are still talking about Rocky. People are talking about an incredible performance from Sylvester Stallone, who I think should have won Best Actor. Even though people say Peter Finch is great, he's fantastic in that work. But 40 years later, people are even still talking about this movie. Today, they're like, what is Breaking Away? I've never heard of it before. But you look at people like this and say, Rocky, this is a movie people will remember 40 years from now. We have 2 Rocky fans who are on the Schmoes Know, who are huge on Rocky. And even a movie called like Creed that came out 39 years later still is impacting why Rocky is such an inspirational film.
All right. So let's hear your 20-second rebuttal, Jen.
Okay, I can already feel JT and Finstock getting mad at me. So the problem with Rocky is it's not a very personal film, and it's very unrealistic of what an actual fight would be. The final fight, it's very pulling and punches. You can see the air in between the people. If you go back and look at Raging Bull, it's a lot more realistic. The Breaking Away, the final race is all one take, so it's all real happening, and it's something. Okay.
Sorry. So here's the thing about Rocky. I've never heard of Breaking Away, but there's so many other movies that bring inspirational. Chariot of Fire, Stand By Me, that are coming of age, that bring people together. Rocky brought the biggest story ever. It brought an underdog. People can believe in him. People can believe in him. People can root for him. And Breaking Away didn't have that. People don't know that 40 years today.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, if people do see Breaking Away, it's a very personal film. So it's something that if you're looking at attainable goals that you can go after, it's not a very big, grand scale, but everything is compacted to this one little moment in four child's lives.
And time.
But here's the thing. There were so many other movies that year that got completely under the radar. This film impacted and even won the stinking Oscar over All the President's Men and Network and Taxi Driver. This is a movie that is different in 40 years today. People are going to look at this movie.
All right. Now, before I make my decision, any corrections on the facts?
Nope.
All right.
All right.
So, this is hard.
This is tough.
Really hard to decide.
Can we hear what Chris said?
No. Yeah, what do you think,
Can we
Chris?
hear from someone that saw my movie?
Well, yeah, it's kind of funny. I actually caught it on cable for the first time. It was like 5 years ago, and I saw it on cable again about 2 years ago. And so, yeah, no, it's a great little piece. I love it. Oh boy. Here's the thing.
I love you, Chris. I'm just kidding.
It helps if you have seen both options going into a film. So, but based purely on how she sold it, I'm not gonna lie, I would actually give it to Jen. That's purely based on how she presented the whole film. Whereas with Day, I will say, man, you had a great 20-second, 10-second argument about how it's lasted the test of time, yada, yada, yada. But you didn't quite sell me in the opening. However, like I said, that's just where I stand.
Yeah, and I feel like you were strong in the second, third, Chris, for sure. And you weren't as great in the first round, but here's why I'm giving it to Jen. She explained to me why it's an inspiration. She explained to me why it's an inspirational film when you just said it's going to be remembered in, 40 years and it won these awards. She actually explained why it's inspirational. So that's why I'm going to give it to Jen. And I believe that's a knockout right there.
That is, unfortunately.
So, unfortunately.
I'm sticking to judging. I'm just kidding.
So
I'm now on JT and Finstock's hit list. So
I think you are. It's like the movies.
Rocky,
I like the movie, but it's not one of my favorites. But if you talk about the most inspirational movie,
yeah. No, if you have seen Rocky and you enjoyed Rocky, Breaking Away is a very similar story of the whole class warfare and everything. However, it's more personal and there's a lot more going on because it's not just about one person. It's about 4 different people. And it's hilarious. It's heartwarming. It's a great movie. I hope my inspirational movie has inspired people to go see this movie. It's a great movie.
Oh, yeah.
I probably should watch it.
You should. It's definitely a good time. I mean, you want to do... in fact, for me personally, it's the movie that I will always go back to and realize, you know what? Even though I don't like Dennis Quaid that much in anything post this film or Jackie Earle
He's
Haley.
hot in this movie though. He looks so good.
That's good.
Not gonna lie, if I were gay, I'd go for that.
If I was gay, I'd go for Robert De Niro.
It's great.
All right.
So we went from having incest jokes to talking about if we were gay, who we would bang. So
we didn't have an incest joke, but we talked about a Marlon Brando appeared butter thing.
Yeah, I mean, we're making some progress. We're making some progress on that.
Yeah, I want to say something real quick. Hands off to Jen. I think she's going to be one of those competitors come the tournament in March that you should probably look out for because I can see her competing, and I would definitely say she will be in the tournament. It's just who is she going to face? Is this going to be a thing? And it just depends. But she gave it her all. As for me, I think I'm done fighting for a while. I don't think I need to fight.
Oh, come on.
I just did this
Okay.
special thing. I'm the executioner. I'm the judge. I appreciate Matt though, but I'm not big on the fighting in this. I think I am, but I think I'm just gonna stick to judging for a while. And if I'm ever gone, then Matt and Chris have it. But I mean, this is judging my thing. I run the thing, and I like fighting, but you won't. I'll do it every once in a while, but you won't see me do it all the time. And hands off to Jen though, because she gave one hell of a good game. Knockout.
yeah.
So
No,
say
I-
something.
I completely agree with a lot of your choices. Like, so this was a hard fight, but this, as Alicia Malone would say, this is my jam. So I love just talking and debating with movies, and yeah. So
Talk about
this is
classic
my thing.
movies, he and her know what we're talking about.
Damn,
But
man.
if you would say if there is a top 3 ranking, she would be number 1 because she had a knockout.
Exactly.
So-
That's why,
Yep.
obviously, Jen, you got nothing but mad respect from me because, spoiler alert for my and Beers match. Yeah, I did win, but that was a lot closer. So
It's teeth.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and
first off, I want to say thank you to Matt. I mean, for judging this, for doing this, and letting me fight too. And thank you for Chris for fact checking. But Matt, man, good job judging, man. You did a hell of a good job. Don't take yourself bad. That's what judging has to do. I mean, there's
You
some
chose
days.
wisely, so.
Yes, he
Ooh,
did.
good reference.
I mean, here's the thing. I think he would come back at times. I think if he's gone or him gone, I could definitely see it judging like Chris or Jen. Jen's going to be like the Alicia Malone of this fight.
Oh, sure.
Her here for a reason, man. I got her here for a reason. She's going to be a big competitor, but I want to thank Chris and I want to thank Matt for judging.
Yep, and I guess you could say that she was the executioner in this match, unlike you. But I think that's all we have for today. Where can we
Yeah.
find you at, Jen?
You can find me trolling around Schmoeville. I'm on Twitter at Jen Kempe at JK Meme Queen, and you can see me writing for schmoesnow.com. We're a movie news site, so come and see us. And every Meme Mondays, we have all your crazy, weird situations that you put the schmoes in, and yeah, come see us.
All right, and Chris, where can we find you?
So you guys can find me at Chris Day 1995. Also do the hashtag movie fight. Send us questions for the new year, and we can do that, guys. And
And Chris Dohmen, where can we find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at my band Last Shot at Redemption at LSARBandMN. And you can also find me running the Dingbats in the Fan Movie Trivia Schmoedown League.
Yep. And you can
Where-
find me on the tweets at It's Matt Beer. You can find me on YouTube here on this lovely channel and on my personal channel, That Movie Guy. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I've been Matt. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.